Hello and welcome. This is U.S. Trademark Attorney Eric Kelly. In this video, I'll show you 4 types of trademarks you likely did not know about. But first, we're going to look at 2 types of trademarks you likely are familiar with. Okay, we're going to go over to the United States Patent and Trademark Office website, uspto.gov. Then we're going to go into the trademark area. Then we're going to go to searching trademarks. Click on our trademark database. And we're going to kind of do this third option here, which is a more advanced search. And I'm going to show you 2 types of trademarks that you likely are familiar with. So I'm going to enter a search string here for Starbucks, a brand that you're likely familiar with, even if you don't use. All right, so this should bring up all live Starbucks trademark registrations or pending applications. We'll go ahead and hit submit. So the ON just says owner's name, and then the LD just indicates that we're looking for live trademarks. So 213 records. So Starbucks currently has at least 213 trademarks. And I'll go look down to some other older ones, but that's probably something you're more familiar with. So Starbucks, click on this one. So here you can see Starbucks is listed as the trademark. So this is what we would call a standard character mark. A standard character mark. It's basically just a trademark in the form of like letters, words. There could be numbers or punctuation as well, but you see Starbucks, that's a trademark, and that's a type of trademark, a standard character mark that you are likely familiar with. So next we'll look at what I would call a logo mark, and this is something you're also likely familiar with. So here's one of Starbucks, and Starbucks has a number of different logos, but here's one you may be familiar with. So again, in this particular example, you'll note that there's no writing at all. It doesn't say Starbucks. So technically these are called a design or stylized mark, but I often just refer to them as a logo trademark. So those are 2 different examples of types of trademarks that you likely are familiar with: standard character marks and the logo or stylized mark. So now we're going to get into these other 4 types of trademarks that you likely are not familiar with. Okay, so the first type is known as trade dress. And trade dress is a type of trademark. And essentially what trade dress is it's the unique or distinctive external look of some type of product or product packaging. And sometimes it can even be the look of a business, like a retail store or a restaurant. So I'll give you a couple examples here. So we'll go back over to the USPTO website, and we're going to do some searches to pull up some trade dress examples. For this one, I'm going to go back into a more basic search, and I'm going to actually enter some serial numbers that I've already looked up for particular trade dress trademarks. Okay, so here we're seeing basically the classic shape of a Coca-Cola bottle. Okay, so that shape of a bottle is trade dress. So basically anyone else can't use that shape, at least for similar products or services as Coca-Cola provides. And if you look over here, first use, this particular shape was first used in 1916. Okay, so that's one example of trade dress, the classic shape of a Coca-Cola bottle. Pull up another one here. Because this is just a serial number that I've already looked up. All right, so now what you're seeing here is basically the kind of the classic front grille of a Jeep, like a Jeep Wrangler or something along those lines. So maybe decades ago this could have been protected by like a U.S. design patent, but if it was, that patent would have expired a long time ago. However, the overall design is still being protected as trade dress. So that's another example of trade dress. So basically, if you're an automotive, vehicle kind of business, you can't use this shape, at least not without the permission from Jeep. Okay, let's look at another example here. Another example of trade dress as a type of trademark. So here you're seeing, a little hard to see, but it's the kind of the classic little Lego figurine. Okay, so again, this design's been around for a long time, so any US design patents on it would have expired a long time ago, but the overall design is still being protected as trade dress. And we'll look at one last example of trade dress, and this is also another Lego example. This should just be their kind of classic Lego block. Okay, so again, any patents on this would have been expired a long time ago because this has been in use for a long time. However, it's still being protected as trade dress. Okay, so next we'll look at an entirely new type of trademark that you may not be aware of. So the second type of trademark that you may not be aware of are what we call our color marks. So this is where the trademark is essentially in one or more colors alone. So let's look at some examples here. We'll go back to the uspto.gov website, entering another serial number that relates to a particular color trademark that I've already looked up. So here you're seeing what's relatively famous, which is the Tiffany blue color. So the Tiffany blue is a protected color as a trademark. Okay, so let's just look at another one also of the Tiffany blue. So again, the Tiffany blue is a protected color. It's a trademark. In particular, it's a color trademark. Okay, we'll look at another color trademark example. And this one's a little hard to see, but it's basically the Owens Corning pink. So the pink color that's associated with the Owens Corning, insulation products, fiberglass, and things of that nature. Okay, here's a slide showing 13 examples of color trademarks. So we already looked at the Tiffany blue color trademark, and we also looked at the Owens Corning pink. But here's just a variety of some other color trademarks to look at. Probably familiar with at least some of these, like Coca-Cola red, or the John Deere green, or UPS brown, the T-Mobile magenta, etc. Okay, so that brings us to our third type of trademark that you're probably not aware of. Okay, so the third type of unusual or strange types of trademarks are sound marks. So we'll go back to the uspto.gov website and look at some sound marks. So we'll enter a new search string to find sound marks. All right, we're almost done here. Okay, so this should bring up live sound marks. So currently there's 303 live sound trademarks. And another way to look at this a little more interestingly is we'll do a Google search for uspto.gov trademark sound mark examples. So click on this first link here. Okay, you'll see a bunch of example sound trademarks. And some of these should be very familiar to you. So let's try like the NBC chimes. Okay. What else? How about the MGM lion? Those are both pretty famous. The Lucasfilm THX, I remember this from the theaters. That's a great sound mark. Anyway, there's a bunch of examples here. You can look at these; they're kind of fun to play around with. The Nationwide one, let's see.
Nationwide is on your side.
Anyway, so you can also go back to the search results that we pulled up, and all those examples should be listed in here somewhere. So these are sound trademarks. That was our third example of a type of trademark that you may not be familiar with, which leaves us to our fourth and final category. So the fourth type of trademark that you may not be familiar with is, I think, probably maybe perhaps the strangest or weirdest of them all, and that are scent marks, basically smells or odors. And the thing with these is that the odor can't be something that you would typically or normally associate with the given product or service. So when we get into these and look at some examples, you're typically not going to find like fragrance or perfume companies, because those are smells that you would basically think to be associated with a perfume or fragrance. So these are going to be smells that would be perhaps not intuitive to be associated with whatever the particular service or product might be. We'll see that here in a minute. So we'll go back to the USPTO website and we'll do a new search. So the only thing we have to change here in this search string right here is for the DE area is to put scent. We can still leave sound for the MD area. I can show you if you're curious. We'll enter this search string. So you're getting 14 records of scent trademarks, odor trademarks, smell trademarks. So we'll click on one of these. So the scent for this one is the scent of banana and evergreen with a hint of ammonia and kerosene. And then the product for this is gun cleaning preparations. I guess for gun cleaning preparations, you typically wouldn't necessarily think that it's going to have a smell of banana and evergreen. Okay, so that's what I mean by that. And the reason that we could use in our search string sound for MD just refers to a drawing mark code. And if you click on these, this is the drawing mark card. It says for situations for which no drawing is possible, such as sound. So this is also going to catch the scent trademarks, and you see the word scent comes up in this area. So this one is a scent consisting of warm, woodsy, basically smells with clove, spice undertones. And this product is like leather, imitation leather bags. So for imitation leather products, you wouldn't necessarily assume it to have a woodsy smell with clove spice. Okay, let's look at one more example. The scent of fresh, sweet oranges, and the product here is shoe polish. Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily assume shoe polish is going to smell like oranges. So that's why these types of scent, that's how these types of scent trademarks work. Okay, to recap, we looked at 4 different types of trademarks that you might not have been aware existed, in addition to the first 2 types, which are ones you are familiar with, which were the standard character mark and like a logo mark. So we looked at trade dress, and examples there we saw like the shape of a classic Coca-Cola bottle or a classic Lego block. Then we looked at color marks like the John Deere green. Then we looked at some sound marks like the MGM Lion Roar. And then lastly, we looked at scent or smell or odor marks. Okay, so that's 4 types of trademarks that you may not have known existed. Okay, so we're going to wrap up this video. It's just a summary slider showing my contact information. So I'm United States trademark attorney Eric Kelly, and I do work with clients from all over the world and all over the United States. And in this particular video, we were talking about the subject matter of trademarks, and trademarks are used to protect branding. And we saw in this particular video, that branding can include the shape of products. For trade dress, it can include the color or a color or one or more colors. It can also include a particular sound, and it can include scent, smells, or odors. So there may be some things that you weren't necessarily thinking about as brand elements that might be potentially protected by a trademark. And in addition, as an intellectual property attorney in general, I also handle patents, which deals with protecting inventions and new products. And I also deal with copyrights, and copyrights deal with protecting creative content like videos and photos and music and things of that nature. And then lastly, here you can see some contact information if you want to reach out to me regarding intellectual property matters such as trademarks, patents, and copyrights. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye. Please subscribe to help me reach others about intellectual property matters. And here's some suggested videos on trademark matters.